We are.
All right, we're on. We're rolling. Casey, bring us in, buddy.
Are we on the air
We
again?
are.
Here we are from Studio C live. Two of us are, at least. We have in studio on Citizen Watch, the Tuesday, February 11th edition. We have Robert, the Velvet Sledgehammer Tomasetti, always there, always somebody we can rely on. Welcome, Robert.
He's writing in his little diary there.
Writing in my notebook
writing.
my thoughts of the day.
And then, of course, we have the best engineer in AM radio. He's not in studio, folks, but what we have instead is Steve Colvard.
Yeah, where is that new guy?
Where's Steve?
No, the guy, the best engineer. Yeah, where is he? Didn't you call him up and tell him to be here today at 10 o'clock?
It sounds like we might have had some more technical difficulties this weekend.
We did.
Oh, are we saying that Are we saying that the technical difficulties are micromanaged by Steve?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to start micromanaging.
Steve's, control, folks.
Okay, hey.
Tease him a little bit.
Hey, Case.
What?
Terrible today.
What's wrong?
Shirley Temple Black died.
Yes, 85 years old.
Yes. Any of those of you that don't know who Shirley Temple is, she was a child actress. It was cute because
She was a child superstar.
She was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know who else was a child superstar and he's still kicking is Mickey Rooney.
Yep.
I see him on
Yeah,
TV.
Mickey
He doesn't
Rooney.
look like he knows much, but he lets his wife do the
He's
talking.
in his twilight.
Twilight. You know that guy was married like 9 times?
Yeah, heck yeah.
That's 8 more than Casey.
I know he burned through a lot of cash on the ponies. I think he filed bankruptcy like 9 times.
Yeah, but you know what's funny is anybody who loves old movies, if you see who he was married to, they were the hotties of the day.
Judy Garland? Did he marry?
No, he didn't marry.
No?
He was married to Joan Leslie. He was married to Martha Vickers. He was married to Ava Gardner. I mean, they were hotties.
Yeah, and he was like, what, 4'10"?
I don't know. I always see he was 27 years old. He could still play teenagers.
Yeah. Well, what a talent! What a talent, though.
They both were talented people, and
those superstars back then were kind of talented in a different way.
But they
were more like song and dance people
because they
like
came from vaudeville.
Yeah.
And the problem is that back then they were called superstars and actresses, and today they're called celebrities.
Yeah, and they were owned lock, stock, and barrel by their studios.
Yep. MGM was number one.
Told them what to eat, what to drive, what to wear.
Yeah, but that was a good thing. I mean, really, if you think about it, Rock Hudson, him being gay, would have came out of the closet a long time ago. And back then in the 50s, that could have been devastating to MGM and him. Because there wasn't that, back then in the 50s, being gay wasn't accepted like it is today.
It was devastating even up until a few years ago with Rosie O'Donnell and Ellen DeGeneres. They played heterosexual
Ellen
characters
DeGeneres
and roles. And
I like Ellen for some reason.
You guys obviously heard about that.
You know what came out this weekend in the world of football?
Right.
Speaking of coming out of the locker room.
Don't go there with me.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay, well, just for the listeners,
have anything to do with the time of day.
No,
for listeners, let's just give a little backstory here. There was a college athlete played at the University of Missouri. Who was the Southeastern Conference Defensive Co-Player of the Year, linebacker, about 6'3", 255.
You're a ref, aren't you, Steve?
Yeah.
Did he slap your ass when you guys were?
He came out.
Hey, man.
Interesting enough.
Looking good.
Interesting enough, this individual came out to his teammates years ago, and they kept it in house and let him kind of bring it out as he chose fit. And it didn't bother his teammates. I mean, as long as he played football, that was what it was all about.
See, that's what I have a problem with this about. It's about this young man. I think his last name is Sam.
Yeah.
I think it's about this young man playing football and being a star in the NFL. And my question with gays, heterosexuals, it doesn't make a difference. What do we care of what your sexual preference is and who you sleep with in the privacy of your own home?
Right.
I do not care. If you didn't tell me, I would never know.
Right.
That's
well,
right.
I think his position was he just wanted to come clean.
No, I think it's their. I don't. I think they have an ulterior agenda. Is what I think. I think what it is. It's all about me. I'm different. I'm cool. Because it doesn't mean anything. I don't tell you who I sleep with, and I'm straight.
It doesn't mean anything to you. But there are a lot of people in this country.
You know what? That's a good point. Didn't look at it from that. You're very good, Steve. Very good observation. Maybe we will give you.
There's a lot of people in this country that think that you can literally pray homosexuality away. If you pray hard enough, the Lord will show you the light.
Well, they also pray that they'll get a house payment too, but it ain't happening.
But my point is, a lot of people still look upon that as a.
You know what I do? You know what I pray?
Abomination.
You know when I pray? I'll be very honest with people. When I'm up in the middle of the night and I'm manipulating my home in the dark, I'm fine. Yesterday, I stubbed a toe and I reached for the lamp and I turned the lamp on, and it took 10 minutes for that lamp to shine any light so I can move on.
You must have one of those new energy-efficient light bulbs.
I bought energy-efficient light bulbs, and they suck.
Yeah, they don't work when they're cold. That's for sure.
Yeah,
well, I want light. When I turn on the lamp, I want light now. I don't want it in it. If I wanted to wait for it, I just wait till daylight. I mean, you know.
Well, they're trying to make it more like natural light, I guess. But hey, let me just take a minute before we get too far away from our preamble to let people know about our tip line.
Ooh.
Yeah, the information that you want to get out there, it's 209-406-8728. I want to thank all the people that have been calling in lately. It's been blowing up. We've got lots of interesting topics we're going to pursue in the next few weeks. Also, if people somehow miss us on the radio, if for some reason the hamster died or the transmitter tower fell over and
Steve fell asleep,
they miss part of the show, they can go on YouTube and punch in KYOS space 1480 AM, and all of our YouTube videos, I guess their audio actually can come up and people can listen to us that way. We did have a couple of technical problems with our Thursday show, the John Pedrozo Hour, and if people want to revisit that, they can go on YouTube and listen to it as our replays are over. And hopefully, like I say, folks, it's not Steve's fault. We have this big, pretty computer with lots of pretty colors on it, and sometimes it just doesn't do what we tell it to, so we're still trying to get that tuned in.
Sorry.
But hopefully there is another alternative. And I'd also like to encourage folks to listen to our other great lineups on Saturday morning. We have the Tea Party Straight Talk folks that come in there live.
Bugs Bunny coming on?
I'm sorry?
Does Bugs Bunny come on? On Saturday mornings, I watch cartoons, folks. I'm sorry.
Well, Saturday morning cartoons.
Woody Woodpecker?
Go ahead.
I said Woody Woodpecker.
Woody Woodpecker, Foghorn Leghorn. We can
That's
go
it.
on.
You're him. You're Foghorn Leghorn. But I'll say son. Yaw, chicken hop.
Yeah.
Come on, Casey, do it for me, buddy.
Red. Like I say, so you can email us at citizenwatchmerced@yahoo.com. You can send stuff to the station, 1020 West Main Street, Merced, California, 95340. Give a shout out to all our listeners over there at the penitentiary in Atwater.
Yep.
We have one captive audience. We've got a lot of good feedback from our local our shows lately. They say you're only as good as your last show, and if that's any indication, we're doing great. I think the last couple of shows we had were very, very interesting. Got a lot of good community involvement.
Yeah,
and that's what we're trying to do here on Citizen Watch. I did want to put out a meeting announcement. I was asked by the Merced City Council to let everybody know that they're having a meeting tomorrow night, a community meeting. Now, this is different than a regular city council meeting. It's tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the Tenaya Elementary School over there where Tenaya is located. I don't have the exact address. You'll have to look it up.
Well, yeah, which will be Wednesday, February the 12th. So if you're hearing this rebroadcast, obviously on the weekend, you missed it. But if you're listening tonight on this Tuesday, then it's tomorrow, February the 12th.
Hey, Casey?
Yeah, and what it is this is a meeting. I'll give you just a second, Robert. What this is it's different than a regular city council meeting held down at City Hall. But at the same time, all of the folks, the officials will be there. It's more of an interactive meeting for the community. So if people are maybe intimidated by going to City Hall or down there to the council chambers and speaking in front of the board member, the council members there, they can go in a more informal setting in a gymnasium at a school here, and you can get your questions answered directly. The department heads will be there. Don't ask them when a youth council is going to be formed, because, folks, they couldn't schedule a bowel movement over there at City Parks.
So then why do we?
I have never seen a more dysfunctional department than City Parks, but that's a whole other story. What'd you have, Robert?
Why do we? Well, here's the thing, Casey. While you're going on those scheduling rants, Connie Hodges would like you to know that Hornitos is having an enchilada dinner. There's a needlecraft and sewing class in Chowchilla. I mean, since we're going on about that, because you know what? You're right.
We are a community service station.
We are, but those city hall meetings that they have are a waste of time. And I think all they're doing, and I'm going to be very honest with you, I think they just piggyback on John Pedrozo's idea. We ranted and raved and great and gave him kudos for his idea of going around to his constituents, and now everybody's trying to do them. And I think they're...
Speaking of rants, you want to go on one final rant on the John Pedrozo situation?
First of all, can I ask you guys something?
And then we'll put that to bed.
Okay, can I tell you guys something?
Absolutely.
Personal?
Yep.
Yeah.
My ex-girlfriend is 45 today.
Who's your ex-girlfriend, Rob?
Jennifer Aniston. Can you believe that biatch left me for Vince Vaughn? Can you believe that?
Looking at you, Robert, I can't imagine why she would do that.
Are you saying I look terrible?
Dude, you're looking smooth today. You
I know,
see him, Casey. This guy is dressed to the T's right now.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways. Smooth. You know what it is, folks? He finally went to 1 hour Martinizing, and he had more clothes there from 8 months ago. They finally wanted their $85 from him.
No, here's what happened. My brother
Have
Perry...
you ever gone to the dry cleaner and the rack just spins and spins and there's 8 million clothes and you're thinking, my God, how many clothes do they clean in a week? No, that's not it, folks.
It's storage.
It's people like Tomasetti that leave their clothes there for 8 months.
No, what's the sad part is when I told you the story, I go to Casey and I say, Casey, you know what's a sign when you have too many clothes? And he goes, what? And I go, I took 5 shirts in and I gave it to the lady at 1 hour Martinizing, and she says, that'll be $42. And I go, for 5 shirts? And she goes, oh no, you have clothes here from June. I go, June? Wait, that was like 9 months ago. She plunks 12 shirts, 6 pairs of pants, and I'm looking at them going, there's where those cords are at. Gosh darn it. I knew I had a pair. I have a lot of clothes, people.
Yeah, he does. He didn't even know he was missing them. So I imagine he does look pretty sharp. He bought clothes he hasn't worn in 9 months.
He bought another watch too, Case.
Momo DeRoche will tell you about the watches. I'll leave that for Thursday. But I want to go on one final rant.
Is Momo coming on Thursday?
Yeah. I want to do one final rant on this John Pedrozo thing and put it to bed. And it's just 2 observations. First of all, if anybody has read the Saturday edition of this Pedrozo apology, I think it was very, very, very nice that he did that. I don't see anyone else doing that. I don't see anyone else making a mistake and getting out there, leading with their face and saying, look, except Jimmy Swaggart when he was on TV going, I have sinned. Okay, but John Pedrozo, I've sinned. But here's the thing that bugs me about this. First of all, Lynn Davis said something. Could you believe that? That's the first.
There was a Lynn Davis sighting. They actually got him to comment, but it wasn't a very good comment.
No, it wasn't a good comment. It's like they held him in a closet or something. But the one that really bugs me is Deidre Kelsey. Because Deidre Kelsey's piggybacking, and maybe she's been listening to our show because I know she's made inquiries as how to get a hold of Casey Steed. Okay.
406-8728. Deidre, call me anytime. You can even call me at 1:45 in the morning.
Okay, so anyways, Deidre Kelsey gets on the phone right after, it says here, Supervisor Kelsey said that after hearing Pedrozo's announcement, she contacted Jim Brown to discuss implementing better hiring practices. Well, here's what's funny. Doesn't she have a personal assistant? And as her personal assistant, did she go through good hiring practices? Hell no. Deidre Kelsey does whatever Deidre Kelsey wants. And then when she wants to she wants to spotlight, here's what she says. When asked if the situation was an embarrassment, she says, I think politically it is an embarrassment for Supervisor Pedrozo. What's embarrassing was how reluctant he was to take action once he discovered the depth of the situation. Here's my question to you, Case, and to the listeners. Did she have that same stance when the public defender was playing whoop-de-doo? Did she have the same stance when her daughter got a sweetheart deal over there or got a nice gig at the police department and there was all kinds of favoritism to where the man had to leave his job? Case?
Well, I think you're right there, Robert.
Sounds to me like throwing
reminds me of that old song, of what goes on behind closed doors. They had some issues over there with
have you heard
the defender's office about issues, and
what?
I know she took a different tack. She felt that her daughter and the public defender were being picked on, but I don't know. The report was pretty scathing.
Yes, and
but how come
you've heard the term throwing people under the bus?
Yeah,
that's what it sounds like to me.
Well, but my point is I don't hear Supervisor Pedrozo, Hub Walsh, Lynn Davis doesn't say much, don't even know if he really exists, and Jerry O'Bannon. You didn't hear them give any kind of backhanded remarks to Deidre when she was going through that personal situation. And I just think this just stinks of, chest thumping. But
let me remind everybody, though, Robert.
Yes?
There is an election coming up.
Oh, yes, there is.
Yes, just remember that.
Because if you don't like what I do, you can elect me.
If you want to take some time away from eating your cake, you can go on down to the voting booth and let your voice be heard.
Okay, I got one more question for you guys, and then
we got to take our first break.
One question, real quick.
Let's take our first break and
Well,
come back.
go ahead and ask.
I'm going to ask my question, Casey, and folks, what is a deadline if we're going to move them?
What is a deadline if you continue to move it?
The court, I noticed
wait. Let's let the listeners ponder that. We will take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, you're going to explain that to us.
Will I?
I hope so.
I hope so.
Okay.
Folks, Citizen Watch Tuesday night. Thanks for listening, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Citizen Watch here on 1480 AM KYOS here on this beautiful Tuesday evening.
Yeah.
And although it got a little bit wet here, folks, from what I'm hearing, it didn't do a whole lot. So continue that conservation on the water, please, and continue to pray for more rain.
Pray for more rain and more sanity out of California. Of course, everything's going to be fine. The Messiah's coming on Friday to Fresno, so I'm sure we're going to get some good answers.
The Messiah. Hey, is he going to go to Turlock Ag Expo?
President Obama is coming into Fresno on Friday. That's what he's talking about.
Big ears?
Yeah.
Big ears. Yeah, we're gonna hear all about how we can. We need more impoundment, folks. We need more dams. It's obvious that our storage is.
We needed this 5 years ago.
You know what? I was
inadequate. Yeah,
Casey,
but we're going to work on that train first.
Case.
Yeah.
Okay, what I'd like you to do, honestly, is I was coming in from the racket club after getting my butt thumped by Mr. Colvard, who I'm starting to hate. What happened is I'm coming in, and I heard this big, long diatribe by the Fresno City Water District, Fresno City Water or something like that, City of Fresno Water, that while we were having drought years and things like that, they've been storing water in some capacity. And so can we look into that? I think it would be very interesting to find out, because evidently Fresno's not really hurting that bad as everybody thinks they are, because they've been taking measures over the last
Well, you know what?
years.
The way I look at that is if they had the foresight to do that, then they get to reap the harvest of their forward thinking.
But
so
what
if
did they do?
saved water, hey, that's their water as far as I'm concerned.
No, and my point is always this. The education system goes on this rant about they need this, they need that, we need to change this. Why don't you find out what's the number one school system and go to it and mirror what they're doing? The old adage is if you really want to get good employees, you go hire your competitor's employees, okay? And you hire the number one guy that your competitor has. So why aren't we looking at this? If we've got a water issue and Fresno has this dynamite water idea that they're doing, they're preaching on the radio.
Well, that might be what President Obama's flying in for, to kind of tout that forward thinking and that government working.
If we're going
Really?
to try to hire people that are successful, we better go hire the entire staff of Stanislaus County, because, man, they're getting all the business and we aren't.
They got one thing we didn't. Hey, so here's my question with the people and the folks and you about deadlines.
Yes.
What is a deadline if we keep moving it? It's not a deadline.
I'd say
is
it's a strong suggestion.
Yeah. So in other words, close your eyes and just let it go. The court extended the prison deadline. Casey, remember all that hoopla about, oh my God, what are we going to do about inmate reduction? There's no way around it. Well, the court has decided. The court has extended that deadline. Obamacare is not going to push for their deadline, I guess, for their employer mandate. They're going to ease off on that a little bit.
Yeah.
So why sit there and saber rattle with a deadline if you're going to move it after you find out you goofed?
It shows that you have a bad plan and one that can't be implemented easy. And the employer mandate is something that's going to cripple business in this country. Obama realizes it. He can't afford to put it in place before a midterm election. It'll cripple the party that he represents. So this is a tacit acknowledgement of his that this system, Obamacare, as we know it, has some major, major flaws. I'm not saying it's bad. The idea is a good one, but the implementation, as they always say, the devil is in the details. And folks, there's a lot of details here that we just can't get our hands around.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to kind of what was said when this whole thing was presented initially from Nancy Pelosi out of San Francisco, is we have to pass it first, and then we'll figure out what's in it. And it's that mentality that I cannot wrap my arms around. It's like
about Nancy.
It's like the shovel in the ground theory. Let's not worry about what it costs. Let's just start doing it, and we'll just kind of play it by ear. We'll make it up as we go along. It just blows my mind.
It's a perfect example. We just had the draft final report, business plan, come out from the HSR Authority last Friday, the 7th. There's still a $20 billion hole, folks. There's a lot of hope, a lot of wishing. I mean, you think we need rain and doing a lot of praying. I'll tell you, they're praying for money over there at the California HSR Authority. They have no idea where it's going to come from. And it's just kind of, just kick the can down the road. What do we hear, Steve? They're going to break ground in April, right? That's next month, isn't it?
That's what I heard down in Fresno. Yep.
Yeah, well, we'll see if that happens.
Is Kenny, that Judge Kenny still have it kind of on a holding pattern? Judge Kenny?
I thought he did.
Judge Kenny hasn't changed any of his rulings. The governor has gone to the California Supreme Court, tried to get a stay of Judge Kenny's order. Whether or not that's successful or not, again, it doesn't address the question.
Now, let me ask you this:
comes from. Again, you can have all the stages. If you want to talk about prison realignment, it's a failure, an absolute failure. They've given the governor 2 more years to get the prisoner reduction down. And here's the caveat, folks. They can't send them out of state. You can't send these people away from their loved ones, their quote-unquote support network. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Whoa, Case.
Prison.
Case, hold on.
They've got 9,000 prisoners in other states. Oklahoma is one of them, because they don't have room at the end.
Wait, I got a question.
The judge has said you have to go escalating down to this 137.5% in the next 2 years. They're going to be releasing prisoners this year. Don't think we've got a 2-year reprieve of felons hitting the street. They're going to be hitting the streets as we speak.
I have a question.
2 years to do it. Go ahead, Robert.
No, to you. Okay, they can't get. This is what I don't understand. If you're a felon, a federal, you're John Gotti. Okay, you're in New York. They shipped his butt all the way to Marion, Illinois. If you're this massive drug slinging dude, you go to Atlanta, Georgia. You go to these high max prisons. How come they don't sit there and say, "Oh, they can't go to their loved ones"?
Well, that's the federal versus the state.
Right. Well,
if you're prosecuted through the federal court system, you go anywhere.
No, but my point is,
there with the women's prison, you had a lot of people coming in town, hanging out, wanting to visit their loved ones. It really changes the demographics of a community.
Absolutely.
I don't fault that. The point is that we have to reduce our prisoner population, or how about this, folks? Build more prisons.
Yeah, but then we get down to the pie case. Priorities. Where do we get that money from? I think that's the next question.
Like I say, we do have to adjust our priorities, figure out what's important. But I'll tell you, one of the main roles of government is public safety. When you lay your head on that pillow, you don't want somebody coming through the window taking your crap. Or when you're at work, which I know a lot of people don't work now. Everybody's on EBT and ABC and FYZ. But, for the few of us that do work, we want to know that our homes are safe, our private property is safe.
Right.
And unfortunately, in California, that hasn't been a big priority.
That's certainly a component, is having room at the end to incarcerate these people if necessary. But I'll go back, and this is kind of along the lines of Robert's theory, is it takes a community. We're going to be safe as a community here in Merced County when us as the citizens keep an eye on each other. Right. And get a working relationship with law enforcement instead of this adversarial relationship we seem to have right now where no one wants to cooperate with the police. Yep. The only way we're really going to clean this problem up is if we do it together. People have always said, you can't incarcerate your way out of a problem. You certainly have to have room in the end for people that deserve to be there. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But it starts closer to home, in my opinion. We have to look at our communities, and we have to be in here, looking out for each other and take the elements that are doing nothing but negative things in our community off the street.
Right.
Yeah, but the problem is, guys, that even your neighborhoods aren't even neighborhoods.
That's your point. Yeah.
When we were growing up, when my brothers and I were growing up, you knew everybody on the street. Now you don't. Nobody cares. You think they really care? What you do is watch a guy blow through your stop sign, almost run you over and hit you, and you point at a stop sign and he flips you off.
But I would just make this argument. There's something different today than from when you and I grew up.
Individuality.
Well, no, but you also have situations where you literally have generational gangsters. You have granddad who was in a gang, you have dad who was in a gang, and now they're passing it on to their sons.
That might be true, but my problem with today versus yesteryear is you and I were buddies. We can argue, we could fight, and then tomorrow it'd be like, hey, what are you doing for lunch? Come on over, mom's making lunch. Today it's individuality. California leads the world in pushing as the individual. So what do you have? You have these 16-year-old girls with 2 kids with a double wide stroller walking through the mall with their hair up, spraying, aren't I badass? Aren't I hot? I'm 16 and I have 2 kids. I'm awesome. And what we're doing is we're pushing bad stuff as being cool because I feel good about it.
Right.
Casey and I were at McDonald's the other day, and we're leaving, and here's this 17-year-old girl passing a baby around like it's a toy, and everybody, oh, what a beautiful child. And I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't detract from the fact that the girl's life is screwed. Okay,
And what about the child's life?
of course, but they don't look at that because what we have a tendency to do is Carlinism. Okay, we want to call things that are bad, we want to use good words,
Right.
kind words, loving words to make people feel good about it. So it's perfectly okay to come in with tattoos all over your face, walk in with piercings everywhere, okay, so you can hang keys, looks like you stuck your head in a tackle box, okay, and sit there and demand to be first in line and demand and talk disrespectful to people because it's all about who? Me.
Yeah, and the environment you grow up in becomes your reality.
Yes.
So,
yes.
and that's my point with the generational thing is if you grow up and the norm is putting on a blue bandana or a red bandana and you're taught that lifestyle, then it perpetuates. And I'm not talking just gangs here. It can be things as simple as just the welfare lifestyle. Grandma was on welfare, granddaughter's on welfare. I mean, that passes down also.
Well, what's funny is Casey and I remember when we went to Taco Bell the other day.
Yes.
We're in Taco Bell, and these two young men come in, all dressed in red. They got their drawers, their underwear hanging up.
Right.
So I had sweats on with shorts, so I tried it. I couldn't even get to the car before I was tripping all over myself.
You should have seen him, Steve.
I was like, I want to see what this feels like.
Yeah.
He's like, what do you do?
I never saw anything so hilarious than
You're trying to walk. Your walk gait is wrong. You try to pull them up. It's just stupid.
Yeah, it has never made a lot of sense to me either. I don't know what the
Hey, but
attraction is
man,
there.
it's cool. It's
Yeah.
cool.
Well,
I
one
guess.
of the things that's happened in our society, and it may seem like a trivial thing, but just the way our neighborhoods are built. If you look at where Robert lives and Larry and some of the people downtown, everybody has a front porch, and people used to go out on it and see their neighbors. We don't build homes with front porches now. Everything's inside. Hell, we don't even have yards. And, I heard an interesting observation after one of the tornadoes here in the Midwest. Somebody said, the fences are all gone, the trees are all gone. I'm seeing my neighbors for the first time in my life. And really, we build up these fences, these walls of individuality.
There you go.
Me. We don't care what the other person, as long as, I can do my thing, freedom. It's all about me. Again, folks, there's a difference between tolerance and acceptance. You don't have to have one. One is not exclusive of the other. And we need to realize that we have more in common than we have that divides us. And we need to affirm those strengths and those things that we have in common. We want safe communities. We want prosperity. We want jobs. And we need to start rowing the boat in a direction that we get those things.
And in order to make really change, in noticeable change, it takes all of us.
Exactly. We have to embrace. My dad came out from Chicago, and we have these little cyclone fences. That's what we call them. Okay, you know what cyclone fences are, right, Steve?
Like chain link.
Yeah, they're chain link, right. And all they are is 3 feet high to keep your little shit dog out of my yard and my dog out of your yard, right? That's all they are. You walk in the yard, and you're talking to people four yards down. My dad comes to the house, and he's looking around, and he goes, who in the hell builds 8-foot brick walls around their house?
Yeah.
And I said,
well, you've heard the saying, strong fences make good neighbors.
Well,
you've heard that saying before, right?
You don't want your cows getting onto the neighbor's property, but
is there any way?
Don't build a wall.
Is there any way to keep those little dogs from yapping?
we didn't have a little dog. My mom had a German Shepherd.
Those things drive me nuts.
Oh, that's that little Chihuahua stuff.
Yeah, and that's it's vogue now to have those little bitty dogs. And
what's vogue is you take them in a grocery store.
When the owner leaves, it just yaps and yaps and yaps and yaps and yaps and
like me.
There's a guy that stands up at the city council meeting about every other time, and he has some Chihuahuas, Taco Bell dogs that live next to him. I guess when one goes, they all go, and he has just had it. He doesn't know what to do. It's not funny. I feel bad for the guy, but that's a problem.
Yeah, no, when you're trying to rest, just trying to relax, and you just constantly hear yap, 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 yap.
You know what? I don't mind it.
That's because you're nuts.
No, you know what? I got a big boxer next door. It's so funny. Casey knows my house. I got a big boxer next door. This thing stands on my fence, and it's like half is under the fence, half is above the fence. So he just stares at me, and he barks for me to come over. And then what we do, we play.
Yeah.
I mean, I was raised with dogs. I love animals.
It's time to take a break, but I got a real quick story to tell you. A funny story. A buddy of mine lives back on the East Coast, and he was telling me a story about it. He had his day off, and he was at the kitchen sink, and he has a big dog, he didn't, it's one of those big muscly things. And
Saint Bernard?
the neighbor behind behind, this is back in Long Island, New York, the neighbor behind him, they have a little yappy dogs, right? So apparently his dog had dug a little bit of a little crater underneath the fence, not enough for him to get through, but small enough. Yeah. So apparently what happened was is he was enjoying his day off, said, the wife and kids were gone, and he was just getting ready to relax, sitting at the sink, and all of a sudden he sees his dog at that little dip in the fence, and the neighbor's poodle or whatever the hell behind had walked by that hole, and his dog stuck his snout through and just pulled it through the fence and started shaking the hell out of it. And he said he was going nuts. He's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So he ran out there. By the time he got out there, the owner of the dog from behind, his property was out there just, hysterically crying. My buddy Chris said that the dog was obviously dead. It was laying limp in his dog's mouth. He's all, put it down, put it down.
Excuse me, folks. These are viewpoints, not for.
So to make a long story short, and this is a guy thing, and I think everybody can appreciate this. He said the guy, very well to do. He owns a big plumbing industry out there. So he said later on that evening, he was apologizing to the lady, right? He said the dog was obviously dead, but he scooped the dog up, said, meet me over on my house, I'll drive it to the vet. He said that they got in the car and he's trying to find a veterinarian, and all this chick is doing is just got his finger in his face yelling at him, telling him what a piece of shit he is. Yeah. So he's driving along.
Piece of what?
Crap. And he's like, he says, it's a long story. They finally find the veterinarian office, the dog's dead. So later on that night, the dad pulls up, right, with the SUV with all the kids in there, and he comes walking up and this buddy of mine's an ex-NFL football player, big dude. And he said he saw him pull up in front of his house. The gentleman gets out of their SUV and comes walking. You can see the wife in the car telling him basically, do something about this. So he said the dude came walking up to him and he met him on his walkway, and he's like, listen, man, this is the guy talking to my buddy Chris. He's like, my wife wants me to come up here and beat you up. He goes, I don't know what to do right now. Can you help me out? And he goes, well, let's you and I exchange some.
We'll argue.
Well, yeah, let's argue a little bit. You make say what you think you need to say to satisfy your wife, and then turn around and walk away. And I apologize, and I'd like to pay to replace the dog. So anyway, that was a longer story than I anticipated. But
but wait a minute. What I want to just tell our listeners is in no way, shape, or form was that story a viewpoint of Mapleton Communications.
Yeah, send your cards and letters to Steve Colvard.
That's right. And if you have them yappy dogs, shut them up. Just shut them up, please. Somehow, some way, shut them up. They're irritating.
I agree.
Time to take another commercial break. You're listening to the Citizen Watch here on this Tuesday evening. We'll be right back.
Right back, folks. Yeah.
We back.
We back.
We back.
Hey, folks, welcome to Citizen Watch.
Hold on, Case.
Was my story a little long-winded?
February 11th edition.
No. See, Casey doesn't hear us.
Yeah, go ahead, Case. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was I cutting over people? This is the Tuesday, February 11th edition of Citizen Watch. In studio, we have the best engineer in AM radio, Steve Colvard.
He hadn't shown up yet.
The Velvet Sledgehammer Tomasetti, and I'm Casey Steed from a remote location yet to be determined. One thing I did want to follow, we were supposed to have a guest in, folks. We've been kind of running around the maple tree here thinking he's going to come in, but I don't think Dr. Gomes from the Merced County Office of Education is going to make it on this show. We might have him in Thursday if his schedule permits. I know he wanted to come in and talk about some things that were pressing with the school district, but one of the things I wanted to divest from a little bit here is what happened last week. We had an incident with one of our local politicos. It got some ink in the paper. People got interested in the issue. They showed up. They talked about it. And towards the end of the week, we saw the same politician make some changes that way. And I really feel that the process worked. I feel that, community involvement, citizen watch involvement got these things resolved that were obviously problems in the process. And I heard on another show, Kingsley Report, one of the professors talk about how it's very difficult to have watchdogs or to get these kind of things implemented in communities where you don't have a lot of people at a local community level. He was talking about on a national level, you'll have enough people that'll see these digressions, see these, problems in government and raise such a big stink that somebody gets done. And I disagree with that. I think that it depends on the community. If you have a community that's involved in itself, that cares about the direction it's taking, that you won't have complacency among the constituents. So while that may be true in some communities, I don't think that's true in Merced, the city of Merced, or Merced County. And I'm very proud of the citizens that took an interest in this issue. You know, it's not over by a long ways, folks. I mean, we've had some, a letter of apology and some proposed changes in hiring practices, but, there's still opportunities for the citizens that are upset if they want to continue on with this endeavor. I mean, there's a recall, for instance. I went down and researched some of the parameters, or folks are so inclined. There's 14,878 registered voters in District 1. You need to get 20% of them aligned on a recall petition within 120 days after you circulate it. It all has to be done by folks that live in that district. And again, I don't know how the voters or the pulse of the community is on this issue. Again, on Citizen Watch, all we do is we bring things to the forefront, we talk about them, and let people decide. And I think that's what it takes, is involvement of everybody. So while the professor might have been correct about certain communities not being able to monitor, police themselves, I think Merced is better than that and above that.
You know why?
This incident showed it.
And I think we will continue to stay vigilant here on Citizen Watch.
And you know why?
And keep an eye on the way things are going. And I think the underlying message here for all of us on all of our stations is to get the dynamic back that, you, the individual, are in control here. These people work for you. You are the boss.
But how do we get to... But here's the thing, guys. And the doctor, or whoever he was kind of right. Because what he means is when you're on a national level, Hannity and all of that stuff, you got money. Okay, even here locally, the Tea Party, they have money. So they can get on the radio, they can pay their dues. We're doing this, guys, or folks, for free. And we're doing it because we like Merced. I think it's a cool place. And besides, we're radio personalities. Pretty cool. Yeah. But anyways, what I laugh at is we come in here in the morning and we got Rush Limbaugh we're listening to Rush as we're getting ready and we're trying to figure out what we want to talk about. And what I think is really interesting is we talk for 45 minutes. I mean, we talk. Blah, 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 talk. Rush Limbaugh takes as much time and pausing, and what I think is you get these guys have nothing to say.
Amen.
They got $1 gazillion for being on the national level. They have nothing to say. I mean, we in a little town of Merced have lots to say. We have the high school district. We have the Merced City School District, which reminds me, guys, guess what I got in the mail yesterday?
Bomb float.
Nope. I'm going to bring it in. It's a bomb float. Yes, I got that. But guess what I got? I got my tax bill. And my tax bill was quite cheap. Okay, but here's the thing. I'm reading the bonds. There are 3 bonds already that I'm paying for that I have no idea. You know what they are? Merced City School bond float, Merced Union High School District bond float, Merced College bond float, Merced City Schools wants another bond float.
Can I make a quick interjection here?
Absolutely.
One of the things that we've talked about, Casey and I especially, was the fact that we live in a county of 220,000, and we have 22 superintendents of individual school districts. Mm-hmm. Could we have just stumbled upon the reason why that we have all these little superintendents in the school districts, because they each individually can float bonds at different times?
No. I think you're wrong there. I think what it is I think it's something worse. And I know you're going to go, huh? What happens is every one of these little school districts wants their own little fiefdom. If we run out of money, yes, we can run a bond float. Weaver, bond float.
That's what I'm saying.
High School District, bond float.
So they have 22 different entities that can float bonds.
Well, yeah.
Potentially,
yeah, isn't that a moneymaker? Have we not just stumbled onto maybe why we have 22 different...
you have to open your mouth for them. We're going to have every school district that's superintendent at our door wanting money now.
Well, one of the things we hear is people roll their eyes and they're like, we have 22 superintendents here. Are you kidding me? And I've always thought maybe because it's the pay scale thing. Superintendent makes more money than... They do. But here's another angle that I've never really thought about until now. Each one of these individual school districts can float bonds in and of themselves.
Yeah,
so that's
they probably
that's 22 different...
want to consolidate school districts, because that means consolidating their power, and
exactly.
They don't want
well, not only consolidating their power, but let's look at LeGrand. LeGrand has a high school and they have a grammar school, 2 different school districts. Okay, so if you want to consolidate, somebody's out of a job. So why would I want to consolidate? I'll lose my $189,000 gig.
Right. But
exactly right.
One of the things we've talked about is this Measure M thing, and what that Measure M promised on that bond float, and what's been delivered, and how much money's left, and if there's enough money in the till to pay for it.
McGruff the crime dogs on that.
And my general opinion is, right now, as I sit here today, is I want to see that every bond float that they've already offered, all these little things you're talking about on your taxes, has everything promised in those bonds been built and paid for out of the money that they said they would use to make these things. Until they can prove that to me, I say vote no on any additional bond float.
Casey,
until
should
they
I burst his bubble?
Burst my bubble, buddy.
Okay, I'm really going to anger you. Okay, I am done with the John Pedrozo thing. I'm back on the high school thing, right? Because I found in an email and in some things exactly where the money was spent. Okay?
Which is good. That's what we want to know.
That's right. So I go Merced, I go Measure M, right? So the thing that you've always asked me that just has really rubbed me wrong in terms of, how come is, and Roger Wood and Tim O'Neill, we didn't build them yet, but we still can.
Well, I say build them before we give them any more money. Let's see those two gyms out of the Measure M bond float before we even consider another bond float. That would be my position.
Right, but hear this. So I have a very distinguished guest, and we go have coffee, and he says, you keep arguing about Measure M. And I go, why? What's up? And he goes, you'll never guess what they're saying. I go, who's saying? He goes, the high school district. You're right. If they build the gyms in the future, 5 to 6 years out, they're not going to have enough money, and they're going to have to float another bond. And I think you guys need to run with this. And this comes from somebody very well respected in the community. And I go, come on. So I go to my computer, and I go, okay, let me look into it. So I had some time, so I pull it up. So I look at their 5-year plan, 5-year facilities plan. I go, okay, they got a plan for 5 years. Let me see. 5 years, 2007. 5 years is 2012.
Right.
Guess what? This is 14, and those gyms haven't been built. Ha-ha. So I get on there. I go, scandal, right? Nope. Guess what? The 5-year plan has been removed off the computer. So I make a phone call to the lady, and I go, ma'am, very wonderful lady. Her name was, I forgot it. But anyways, it'll come to me. Nina, I think, was her first name, but she was very wonderful. And she said, Mr. Tomasetti, I got to tell you, we don't know why that is off the computer. It just disappeared.
That's the kind of how long has this crap been going on, man?
And the sad thing about
we are suckers. Taxpayers are suckers.
Hey, Mr. Tomasetti, the bad thing is I don't know how to put it back on. And I go, well, what I want to know, and
why'd it come off?
Well, she says she doesn't know why it did.
Yeah, exactly.
It just mystically disappeared.
Why it came off is because they promised you when you voted on Measure M.
Atwater.
Well, and Merced. I mean, you ever been to Merced High School's basketball gym? It's a joke. They can't even pull the bleachers out.
What about their pool?
I hear you. But the fact of the matter is they promised something to the taxpayer. They said that if you give us this Measure M bond float, here's what we will give you in return.
Right.
And until they live up to the terms of that contract, that I would not approve another bond float in this county.
But here's what I have that's even worse. Merced City Schools wants another bond float. What happened to the first one that's on my bill? What was that for?
Exactly right.
We didn't get enough. It's funny how you say, Robert, you get your tax bill. We get these. I got a glossy mailer in the mail before I left, and they had the stock photos of a bucket, underneath a roof leak.
They're doing it for the children.
A bunch of K-Pro computers. They haven't used K-Pro computers in 100 years. It's not even pictures of real situations.
Well, they wouldn't be doing this unless the consultant told them that they think it can pass. They think the taxpayers and this citizen.
The children commercial.
I hear you.
I
hear you.
Yeah, but wait a minute, guys.
And what I'm saying here on Citizen Watch
about these poor kids.
Wait, why don't we vote?
Cut it off. Cut it off. No more bond floats until they deliver what they promised to us in the previous bond floats.
But wait a minute.
Well, how about education to our kids?
But wait.
Just get me some test results that get us above the halfway point. Like I say, folks, I'm not asking for number 1 or number 2, but out of 50 states, why are we 45th? Can we be 25th, maybe?
Yeah, but if you listen to Scott Scambray and Leonard Kahn, they get graving results. They are putting out quality kids. One thing, guys, and this is something that has bugged me.
And it's going to have to wrap it up.
Greg Spicer and I are going to get together and talk about this. But I went to Crookshank School. I stopped in. I met the principal. What a nice lady. What a great school. I look around and I go, can you explain to me what $10 million, what you need $10 million? Well, it's the computer infrastructure. And I'm thinking to myself, I want to know, is this a wish list for the $10 million?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, look what they're doing over there at OLM, Robert, and we need to say no more. Look, I know we're getting to the end of our time. I just want to put in another plug for that community meeting at Tenaya Middle School. tomorrow night, 7 p.m., the city council is going to be meeting. I hope that the residents of Merced that have any questions show up. Again, you can look at our previous shows on YouTube. Just punch in KYOS 1480 AM. I don't know. We might have Dr. Gomes back on Thursday, rather. He didn't make it in today. Obviously, he was probably very busy, but we would encourage him to come in. And anybody else that wants to come on Citizen.
And guess who wants to call?
Or if you want to agree with us.
Hey, guess who wants to call you?
What?
Guess who wants to call you?
I think Deidre Kelsey wants to call me.
Nope.
That number is 209-406-8728.
Nope,
I'll be
not
happy
Deidre.
to talk to anybody. Who else wants to call me?
Momo DeRoche. Momo's got some ideas.
Folks, we have a special treat on Thursday.
I don't know how to treat
in. We're going to have Momo DeRoche on air. This ought to be interesting.
Yep.
And we're going to delve into the life of Robert Tomasetti.
No, we're not.
Oh, my gosh. That could get ugly.
This is not This Is Your Life.
Guys, we are out of time. I want to thank everybody for tuning in this night. We've got our YouTube problem fixed as far as I know, Case. Do you know any?
Yes, we do. Yes,
Okay.
we do.
So if you want to jump on there, I was going to tell you earlier when you were talking about that, we've had over 20 emails sent here inquiring why the YouTube isn't working. So people are listening. People are checking that out. So that's a good thing. And we here at Citizen Watch are going to keep you, the citizens, informed on this bond issues, because we'll have Robert bring in your tax bill and we'll go line item by line item and see what they promised and see if they delivered it. And we can draw a line in the sand right now and say, look, no more until you deliver what we've already given you.
Right. But here's the problem that we talk about. Enough is not enough because they've got a bond issue on my...
It can be enough if enough to the taxpayers. We have the power to stop the bleeding. We have the power to hold people accountable.
But Sally Struthers wants you to think of the kids.
Hey, it's like my ex-wife. Enough was never enough.
Oh. All right, Robert, take us out, my friend.
Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
Good night, folks.